let us know?
Yes, absolutely. So once again, I am Fantastic Noise. I am the original noisemaker, so no one's going to make as much noise as me, okay? And right here we have the Noisemaker Band. This is only half of it. The other stuffs are upstairs. My Kevin Lamar, Lonnie, and Dobbs, who are the actual band members. These are the background singers. And we came to make some noise. We came to bring that noise today. That's what we try to do. That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And how did you guys get together?
Oh man, so it started with I've been doing this on my own for almost 3 years now. And man, I guess each of these people here have different background stories. Most of us went to the same church together, and we just kept going. This one, her, this is one of my assistants here. One of like my biggest supporter, my biggest shooter here. She's an assistant. So we just been building, and the same thing with upstairs with the band. Just meeting through people, kept networking, kept seeing, and it was just like God ordained. Bam, here we are.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, could you guys do We Talk Weekly a favor?
Yes.
Can you give us a drop in a melody type way?
Oh, a melody type way?
Yes.
Okay. So We Talk Weekly?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to do something like this. We Talk Weekly, come and hear us. We Talk Weekly, come and hear them. 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 We Talk Weekly, come and hear them.
You just gave me like
And we're here. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle
and the beautiful
Lady Esther.
And we are definitely in the building, man. When I first come in, we have someone with whom I have a tremendous amount of respect for. This young lady is doing, oh man, I can't even, her resume kind of speaks for itself, so I don't do it any justice. So I'm going to let, Sizzle kind of give me a little piece, but we going dive deep into what she has going on and her phenomenal work that she's doing. Dr. Peggy Roberts. Sizzle, who do we have today?
So we have the amazing Dr. Peggy Roberts. She is a pioneering figure in the field of women's health. She is revolutionizing the landscape of gynecology and obstetrics in the New York tri-state area. Dr. Peggy Roberts is a board-certified women's health nurse practitioner licensed in New York, providing care for women of all ages. Her expertise spans preventative medicine for women, high-risk pregnancies, and various gynecological conditions. She's the founder and operator of Trust Women's Healthcare in the Bedside section of Brooklyn, New York. And she's done so much in the area of women's health. And she's here with us today. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Peggy Roberts.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm blessed and highly favored. So,
Okay.
I'm doing well.
No doubt. One of the things that we always like to start with is how are you doing? I think, that's an important thing, especially during these times. It's wild in the community, wild in the U.S., and we about to fight for a presidency soon. And, we want to make sure everyone is doing well,
Yes, I'm doing well. How are you all doing?
We're good. Matter of fact, the funny thing is that's how I start my show. So since we're there, how are you, Sizzle? How are you doing today? Hello.
I'm doing pretty good. I had a busy day today, doing some work with the family and just kind of helping them out. So it's rainy, but busy, and I'm tired.
No, that's right. What about you, classy lady? Well, classy lady isn't here today. I'm so used to saying that, but we got Lady Esther in the building. How are you?
I am. I'm here. I'm happy to be here. So everything is all good. Today was productive. I like those days.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Productive days.
And so there we go. So let's, all right, Miss Peggy, Dr. Peggy, let me give you let me put some respect on your name.
Yes.
Put some respect on your name. What school did you go to? And let's talk a little bit about that kind of voyage of you going into this particular profession, you know?
Yes. So I have several degrees. So I went to, let me start, I always started with undergrad, and then I went to SUNY Downstate to get my graduate degree in women's health, nurse practitioner. And then just in working, I just have a passion for women's health. Nursing is my second career. And I went into finance and human resources first. And, the industry was just not doing well. And my mother, who is a nurse, she suggested that I go into nursing. Everybody always needs a nurse, right? So I never thought that I was going to love it as much as I do.
Okay.
And, going through my undergraduate degree, going for my master's, I started working as a nurse practitioner in one of the largest health systems in New York. And I was so upset and dismayed about how women were being treated, how women of color were being treated. Women were dying at alarming rates in pregnancy.
Wow.
So I wanted to do more. So I went to Chatham University to obtain my doctorate degree. And I was just like, okay, what's next? And, sitting on different boards and task force. And I just wanted to do more. I wanted to be part of the solution and not the problem, right? God has blessed me with this gift and this expertise and this passion for women's health. Women, we're the center of the families. We endure so much. So that is what has led me to where I am today.
Interesting. I want to back up, right? Because I want to talk a little bit about that idea that women were essentially abused, pretty much. And I could use different verbiage on that, but I would literally say that was the case, especially when it comes to the Black and brown community, right? One of the reasons why, black men specifically are nervous, why most of us didn't want to get the COVID shots. And, a lot of that is because we have this, this trauma related, this mental trauma when it comes to medicine. Right, we've been experimented on, even and I say that to transition to most of our sisters. It's like, it's the same thing. There was a time where they experimented, and the idea of we can endure pain, right? You guys can endure pain. It doesn't hurt too bad. You don't need that much, and so much so where to date, when you are, being communicative to, the nurses and the doctors saying, hey, something isn't right. They're like, it's just something, well, you'll get over it. Right. And so when you talk about those experiences and why you wanted to get your doctorate, was that part of kind of like the mentality that, you want to make sure that, the people are being treated right, or you just want to do something different? What was the actual ideology that you went into it with to make sure that you did and became your doctor?
So, you have hit the hammer on the nail on all points. So, going back to history, women, specifically enslaved women, were
That's right.
experimented on. And it dates back to then. And you mentioned Black men. Everybody knows about the Tuskegee syphilis study. So that, and in terms of just subsequently to segregation in the hospital systems, which was just desegregated in 1965. So if you think about it, it's not that long ago. And the reason why hospitals were desegregated is because they wanted access to federal funds, right? So you have that. But even though hospitals were desegregated during that time, the racism still existed. And it's rooted into educational systems,
Yeah.
training. So it dates back to then, and it's generational. So that is one of the reasons why when I got into specifically women's health is I wanted to change that narrative, right?
Right.
My parents who migrated here from Haiti, they didn't understand the racism that was rooted in this country when they migrated here. But they quickly learned about it. And they were often treated for one being Black, but also being immigrants. So I use that to kind of fuel and kind of really have, I have a soft spot for immigrants as well, just because, the way that they're treated is unfair. As well as our Black Americans and how they're treated. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go into specifically women's health. And that's what led me to opening my practice, because our mission is that every woman is heard and every concern is addressed. It's far too often I'm hearing women saying, "Oh, nobody hears me. My symptoms are dismissed. I don't feel like I've been dealing with this pain, and they're saying that I'm lying," and it's not fair. It
Right.
absolutely is not fair. And there's no scientific data that suggests that, we can take more pain, that our skin is tougher,
Yeah.
or, things that we hear. There's no scientific data at all. So that is what kind of fuels me to speak about this, to have my own practice and be able to have women be treated a certain way and treated how they deserve, and to hear their concerns and to have an experience and kind of, change the narrative about
Right.
women's health.
Yeah, yeah, Dr. Peggy, real quick, it feels like your head is just. Can you bring your camera down just a little bit? I want to.
Sure.
There we go.
Got it.
That's
Got it.
perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
look amazing now. Looks like a headshot, right?
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. It's interesting what I see and what you guys see. So,
Right,
okay,
right.
no problem.
No, so I wanna just back up and talk a little bit about that. So, if someone is experiencing or feel that they're experiencing some type of, you know, harsh treatment or not the treatment that they don't feel like they deserve, what should they actually do? Because I think that's something that we should sit on and try to address for women who may be watching this. And they may, and because we'll go into like the pregnancies and the high risk
Mhm.
pregnancies in a minute, but for someone who may just be in the hospital and they may be going into surgery, and they feel like they're not being treated fairly or justly, what should they actually do?
Okay, very great question. So let's start with the hospital setting, right? Because it's you're in the hospital, you're vulnerable, things are going on. I think that it's important to have some form of support system with you.
Mm.
The hospital does allow you to have a support system. There is nothing saying that you can't have someone with you while you're waiting to go into surgery or while you're in the hospital. So I think it's important. And for those who don't, there are some that don't have a support system, or support system is at home with the family, unable to be there. If you feel that something is going on, request to speak to the charge nurse, supervisor, administration. Also, it's important to jot down your notes if you can, because if you're in the
Right.
hospital, clearly there's something acute going on, right? So the
Right.
time is of the essence. So I think that if you can, your nurse is one of, is your advocate. And if you feel that there is something going on, or you don't understand, or you need some assistance, call your nurse, charge nurse. Some hospitals also have patient advocates in the hospital as well. You can request that. If there is a language barrier, you can request to have an interpreter so that you can understand, what is going on in your language. If you have your support system there, your support system can also be that advocate. So I think it's important for people to know that
That's right.
you can question if a diagnosis is being given to you or procedures being recommended. You can ask questions. You don't have to say yes right away if you don't understand what it is. It's all about the counseling
I
of
love that.
patients.
I love that. I love that you said that. Ladies and gentlemen, look, Look, advocate for your people. If they can't do it themselves, you do it. I don't care how you believe they're gonna look at you and no, advocate for your people. I hear that so many times that, some people are just scared to speak up because okay, I can't say nothing to the doctor because maybe the doctor might even treat me worse, right? And so how do you comfort someone who feel intimidated under your doctor's care?
Uh, yes, and there is a certain there's a misconception where we're looked at as providers as having this hierarchy that
Yeah,
that you can't speak to us, and that
that's
we
right.
we know we're human just like everyone else. And so when women enter my practice, and I create an experience, first of all,
Right.
so that they feel comfortable, because I think that that's important too. I think it's important for people to feel comfortable with their provider so that they're comfortable in asking questions. So creating that atmosphere is important. And also, I always end the visit with, are there any other questions, concerns? Did you hear everything that I said? Do you want me to clarify
Mm,
anything?
I love that.
Because then it gives the opportunity for a patient to ask, well, I didn't understand what you meant by this. Can you explain it? Also, for patients out there, when you're going to your provider, please jot down your questions on your phone. You're going to get into the room. You're going to start to hear a lot of things go on. We're going to ask questions. You may forget your question or forget a symptom that's going on. So it's important to be prepared for your visit, right? It's all about preparation and having your questions lined up so that you're able to address it. And also, can't stress it enough, you can bring an advocate or a support person to your visit as well.
I love that. I love that. So make sure you go in there with your secret bag of asking questions. Like make sure you go in there. Be prepared. Go in there. Go in there knowing that there may be some language or some information you just don't understand. And can you repeat that? Can you hold up? Wait, you said what? Do I have this on the record? You said okay. Yeah, making sure you do that. Thanks for saying that because I know it's people who may watch this kind of like confused as what. Because I know sometimes I'm in there like you want to cut off what? Wait, can I get a second opinion? Like, can they even say that to you? Is it okay to say, like, yo, I'm not okay with how that sounds. Can I get a different opinion? What should they do in that?
Absolutely. I was going to mention that next. If
Okay.
you don't understand, I'll give you an example. If they are recommending a procedure, surgery, so on, and you are very reluctant, you can request a second opinion, maybe from another colleague, or you can do your research yourself and also ask for your records or ask for recommendations. We don't take offense to it,
Yeah.
to be honest. I think that, again, we don't always know. There are plenty of times where I have given a diagnosis and I say, you know what? I would like a colleague to weigh in. Let me give
Uh,
you this referral so that you can see a colleague and they can weigh in on this diagnosis. So at least you're getting, if you need to get 2, 3 opinions so that you can make an informed decision about your health, it is okay. And it's absolutely your right. And I think we have to normalize empowering people about their health. Right. And I think
yeah.
that there is a lack of empowerment and knowing that, listen, you know yourself better than we do. And I think it's important for us to respect that and be able to answer the questions for patients if they are reluctant. And it, like I said, it's rooted very deep in terms, and we have to take that into consideration as well.
I love that. I love that. Thanks for saying that. One of the things that I know that your specialty spans from preventative medicine all the way through high risk pregnancies. So I want to talk a little bit about that. When you say preventative medicine, what are you specifically saying? One thing that especially what people are waking up to is, and I'll push you just a little bit because you're a medical professional, but the conversation has started to become medicine isn't to assist us, it's to kind of treat the issue but not necessarily cure us, right? Because we need to be dependent on the meds that they're giving us. But I like that you specialize in preventative needs so we don't have to get there, right? And so
Correct.
let's talk a little bit about that and kind of like, your position on even like the wellness, right? Even, non-traditional medicine medications, and what is your experience based around that and your position?
Sure. So I think that, it's important for everyone to get an annual wellness visit with their provider. It's important because at that point, we'll be able to tell you, based on your age, based on your risk factors, what is it that, you should be looking out for? What are the things? So, for example, I treat women. Preventative services can be making sure that you get your pap smears, making sure that you get screening for sexually transmitted diseases, which is on the rise, knowing your numbers. I can't stress enough how important it is to know your numbers in terms of your blood pressure, your heart rate, some of your blood results, making sure you're not anemic. What is your diabetes risk? What is your cholesterol risk? Those are very, very important, whether so that you have a baseline of what it is, so that when you go to a provider and your provider says, oh, your numbers are X, you know that there's a change,
Yeah.
right? Because you knew what your numbers were. So that is what I talk about preventative medicine and preventative measures, trying to get a screening before something actually is wrong. And then every woman that is coming in, whether they're thinking of pregnancy or not, we have that conversation, right? Because, more than 50% of pregnancies are unplanned. So it's important to know what your pregnancy risk might be,
Mm.
and knowing that if there is a potential complication, that you're aware of it. So in case you do become pregnant, it is not a shock, or we can address it prior to pregnancy.
Interesting. So what are some of those issues that may um be high risk for them to have pregnancies, and what if they don't know, right? And which I'm sure may be a possibility. I didn't know the number was that high, right? In terms wow, like over
Mhm.
50%, right? So that means that most that potentially may get pregnant don't even know like what their risks are in getting pregnant. So how do you adjust for that, or advocate on that perspective?
Sure. So it goes back to knowing your numbers. So I'll give you an example. One of the leading causes of pregnancy complications in this country is something called preeclampsia. And what preeclampsia is high blood pressure in pregnancy. And it
Mm.
causes also, just organ dysfunction. So one of the risk factors for having preeclampsia is something like high blood pressure. Um, Over 40% of women over the age of 20 are walking around with high blood pressure unbeknownst to them. It's the
What?
silent killer. Yes,
Wow.
it's the silent killer.
Mm.
So I think it's important, something as a blood pressure that anyone can take. You can buy a blood pressure cuff over the counter, but going into your annual visits, we'll be able to tell you what your blood pressures are if you don't take it at home. Because listen, if you're healthy, if you're a 20 something year old, you're not thinking about taking your blood pressure at home, right? So
Mm-mm.
going to your provider's office, that will be able to tell you if you might potentially have high blood pressure. Getting some labs drawn. What is your diabetes risk? Another risk of pregnancy is gestational diabetes. So if you're pre-diabetic or you're a diabetic due to many different factors, obesity is one.
Mm.
We're a country that is suffering from obesity, family history, so that you know what that risk is. High blood pressure, diabetes, those are things that we can try to address prior to pregnancy because it can cause major complications in pregnancy.
Wow.
Also, knowing
You
your
cooking with
family
grease.
history.
Wow, you cooking with grease. Keep going. Yep.
Yes. So also family history. What
Wow.
if what if mom had an issue during pregnancy? I'll give you an example. Had a patient came in and her mother died during giving birth to her. So now the red flags go up and say, okay,
Wow.
well, what happened? Because if there are studies that show that if mom or sister had preeclampsia, you're at risk for having it as well.
Jeez.
So things of that nature, or having a blood clotting issue, there is such a lot that we just don't know as a community, as a country, that we can get ahead of. We have to be proactive, not reactive.
Wow. Where's she at? She right there. Hey, let me round of applause. You cooking with grease. Hold up. Go ahead, Sizzle. Holler.
Can you talk a little bit about the importance of women's health care and OBGYN specifically for Black women? Because, statistically, we know that health care and when it comes to women of color, specifically Black women, it's not the same as our white counterparts. So can you talk a little bit specifically about that, and why doesn't um, or if you're seeing it in your field, are they adopting measures to gear better treatment towards Black women?
Absolutely. So if you look at the history of women's healthcare, it just emerged in like the 60s and 70s, where, women were fighting for lots of rights. And we're still fighting for it today, right? The medical healthcare space is dominated by men. So if men are making the rules and men are creating these spaces, where does it leave us? And we're not a one size fits all. Black women have been marginalized since the beginning of time, and healthcare is no exception to that. And the conversations are happening, and the needle is moving just a little bit, but it's not moving fast enough because, in this country, Black women are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy complications. And in New York City, where I practice, Black women are 8 to 9 times more likely to die from pregnancy complications. And it has been proven that over 50% of these deaths are preventable. So what's going on, right? So it's rooted, obviously, in structural racism, unconscious or conscious bias. So a lot of health systems have begun to adopt, having implicit bias training, starting in the actual healthcare schools, and trying to get ahead of this. But it goes back to representation. And that's also one of the reasons why I think it's important to highlight why I got into this space and owning my own practice and being represented, because the data does show a concordance of women who are treated by women who look like them do better. And it's been proven, it's been shown in primary care that if you are treated by someone who looks like you, the outcomes are better.
Wow.
So, again, we're in the minority in terms in healthcare. So I think it's also educating our white counterparts on what it means when you are caring for a BIPOC woman. What are some things that you need to be cognizant of? And then also, as patients, it's important for us to call out when it's happening if you feel marginalized during that visit. Because I am of the mindset that, many of us do not go into this profession without being compassionate and wanting to care for people. However, there is unconscious bias. It happens. So I think pointing it out, having the courage, right? Because it's also being courageous enough to point out to your provider, like, hey, you're not listening to me. I'm feeling marginalized. But at the same time, if you have an advocate, that makes it strengthen numbers and they're seeing the same things. So there's so many layers to this. And it's continuing to have the conversation like you all are having, which I thank you for it, because it's also bringing educational awareness to your listeners and to know what they can and cannot do. And this is your health. Women's health right now is under attack. We are getting our health, sliced and diced, rights being taken away, and it's not okay. It is so not okay. And you talk about voting, and voting is important because we're putting in these politicians that are making these laws, and we need to get out and vote for us to change that narrative. Roe versus Wade was overturned, and it should not have been. But because we didn't get out and vote when we were supposed to, then we put people in office to allow this to happen. Now they're questioning IVF and embryos. Like,
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, because there's been a lot of conversation about whether or not an embryo is a child. Could you talk a little bit about that and explain that for our viewers?
Sure. So my philosophy is that an embryo is not a child. Because in order for an embryo to thrive, it has to be implanted in a gestational carrier. Right? For you to have a baby. So if they found a way to be able to grow that embryo into a child, but not for anything, why is it, and I'm going to go a little off the cuff here, but why is it anyone's concern what that woman does with her embryo, with her?
Yes.
Do we question when men, what they do with their sperm?
That
Just
is so
saying.
true.
Just saying.
Yes, that
You
is
know,
absolutely 100% true.
you
But
know,
the embryo is the egg that already has been fertilized with sperm.
correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's not like we're talking about a woman just doing something with her egg and a man just doing something with her sperm. Once you put those two things together, that's what creates the embryo.
Correct. Absolutely.
So
And
now that's why they're trying to make a case for it being a child, because they're making that same case with even if it is inside of you, which is why the whole abortion thing is an issue, because they're saying there it's the same thing. It's just that one is outside of your body and one is inside of your
inside
body.
of the body. But and it goes back, and thank you for that clarification as well. It goes back to, can an embryo survive outside a mother's womb?
Right.
And
No.
exactly. And then also, who has the rights to that embryo?
Right.
Because also, and then so it goes very deep, and it is state specific. But it's being brought up with the politicians that are in office. And women's health care is in attack right now. I feel like women are, how can you be empowered about your health where it's always in question? It's always in question, or you're not being treated fairly, or not being taken seriously. So, this is why I do what I do. And I ensure that when women come in, they're not waiting on, a long time to be seen, waiting hours, that they get the time that they need. And like I said, representation is important so that the next generation coming up can see that this is possible.
Wow, this time flew. I mean, literally. I mean, that went really fast, and that usually happens when it's a great conversation which you had. And I want to pick this up too. I want to invite you back, because I think one of the things that we constantly do, which I'm sure you probably did some research on us, we do talk a lot about like voting and we're solutions based, right? And so our thing is always finding, well, if this happens, how can we remedy? Right. It's just like asking you, what are the right, like, what happens in a situation that they do feel marginalized? Can they say, look, I want a second opinion, or I need X, Y, and Z, right? And that's important for us to continue to educate the community. But before I let you go, I'll be remiss if I don't talk about the organization, right, that you have. And I think that's important. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. What was the inspiration behind that, and some of the work you do as it relates to that?
Sure. So Trust Women's Healthcare was opened in the middle of COVID in 2021. And it was to be part of the solution of BIPOC women being marginalized and not being heard. I wanted to create an experience. And, the women know that no one likes to get a gynecological exam. We dread that exam every single year. However, it's something that's necessary, right? So I wanted to create a space from the time you walk in. It's creating an experience so that you don't dread this appointment going forward. I also do education. I also see my teens, which is really important because I want to set a good foundation for them moving forward. And I think that that's important because so many times I hear from women that, I don't want to come because I had a really bad experience when I was young, or I heard, my mom and my grandmother talked about it, so I just avoid coming. That's not okay. We need to change that narrative. So Trust Women Healthcare, we change that narrative with one woman at a time. We go over every single result with our clients so that they know what their numbers are. And that's why I stress that women should know their numbers and know what it means, right? Because just knowing numbers is not as important as if you don't know what it means. And also just promoting overall health and wellness. I also, go into the community because I'm in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, which has one of the highest mortality rates in the city. So I think that was very intentional in being in that community and being a staple so that women have an outlet of being heard.
Fantastic. Shout out to Biggie. Bed-Stuy, I know for sure. One, before I let you go, because you mentioned something that I wanna address, and that was, okay. So women who, especially when it comes to young women, right?
Mhm.
And I just won't compartmentalize it to young women. Most people who are new, even men who are new to, say, for example, health insurance, right? One of the things we also advocate is health equity, right?
Yes.
So when we finally get insurance, right,
Hmm.
and we are able to pick, certain providers and doctors and stuff like that. Essentially, a lot of the doctors that they don't feel comfortable with are the only ones that's in the network. And
Mm.
so
It.
if we need to get to a specialized doctor that may look and feel like us, then they may be out of the network and we have to spend more. So in that case, which is often not discussed a lot because some people don't even get that, right? But what in that case, what would you do if, say, for example, you're a specialist and a young lady in, that's not in the network that you may, service, and they want to work with you because you look like them, they feel great, and everything is great. What should they do? But hold that thought real quick before you answer, because we at the top of the hour. This is We Talk Weeklies After the Talk on WPPM-LP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Lauren Sizzle.
And the beautiful.
Lady Esther.
And we're on today with the beautiful Dr. Peggy Roberts.
Wow.
All right, it's all good. I got you. So, all right. So just
Oh, I missed that cue. I'm so sorry.
it's all good. Look, you way too smart. That wasn't about nothing, right? And so what should someone do if they really want to work with somebody potentially that looks like them, feels like them, understand their issues, someone who doesn't make them feel marginalized or feel like a statistic, right? But they're not in the network. Then how do we advocate to work with that person?
So that is a question that is asked all of the time because of the structure of insurance companies and reimbursements to providers. A lot of providers are swaying away from many of the Medicaid health insurances, the managed Medicaid. So one of the things that we provide, and we do accept managed Medicaid and Medicaid, because that was important to me to make sure that I don't leave anyone out.
Right.
However, if we're out of network with your payer, there are out-of-pocket expenses that you can do, or there's an out-of-pocket cost that may not be as much to be seen. So that is something that is something that people can take advantage of, and you can get a bill and submit it to your insurance company. And many insurance companies will reimburse you, because you can, make the argument that they don't, I'm looking for a specific provider that looks like me within my community, and this is what I came. So some insurances will reimburse you.
Oh, fantastic. So thanks for answering that. And you have to promise that you'll come back on. But before we let you leave, why don't you tell everyone how they can get in contact with you, how they can find you, all that good old stuff. Yeah.
Sure. I am located at trustwomenshealthcare.com, and we're at 318 Gates Avenue in the Bedford-Stuyvesant area of Brooklyn. And our number is 929-788-7878. And we are on all social media platforms.
Say that. Where can they find you again? One more again?
Trustwomenshealthcare.com.
You said social media. What's your social media?
At Trust Women's Healthcare.
There you go. Live from Bedford-Stuyvesant, the livest one. Shout out to Dr. Peggy Roberts. I really appreciate you. Can you promise that you'll come back?
Absolutely. And I want to thank you for having me on and having this conversation. We don't talk about women's health enough. We don't talk about Black women's health care enough. And I thank you all for allowing me to come to your platform and share my knowledge and my passion. I hope I was able to translate my passion through this conversation, and I absolutely will be back.
Perfect. That's why, because you were able to show us how passionate you are to advocate for these marginalized groups, which is inclusive of our people. And so we really appreciate you for doing that. That's why we want you to come back, especially when we start to get into, this voting thing coming up, because we're going to talk a lot about that. And we want you on here doing some more advocation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No
yes.
doubt. So we thank you so much. This is We Talk Weeklies After the Talk on WPPM-LP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
And the beautiful
Lady Esther.
And the beautiful
Dr. Peggy Roberts.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Well, we love you. One thing we say is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm
Absolutely.
gonna take you up on that.
Please do. Please
Yes,
do.
yes.
You know, we'll sick Sheila on you. Make sure that you definitely come back. We love Sheila. So I don't want you guys to go anywhere. When we come back, we got the sizzle, y'all. This your boy Charles Gregory. We'll be right back after this.
What's going on, you guys? This is Bridget Kelly, and you are locked into We Talk Weekly.
And we're back. We Talk Weekly, y'all. Yeah, super excited about that. We're gonna definitely have her back on.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We need her back on because we're gonna talk a
Need it,
little
need
bit,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that was important for people to hear about that, especially our sisters out there that are nervous. I hear this all the time. That's why I talk about it a lot sometimes, because when we talk about health equity, the systemic ideals and the system that's put in place for our people alone, there's a problem here. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed. And I'm unapologetic when it comes to our people, period. Period. There's no question. I love my people. And yeah, it is what it is. And so we see some disparities there. That's what We Talk Weekly is here for. About the solutions. If it's a disparity and it's a problem, let's talk about the solutions. We ain't mad. We just telling you how to fix it.
And I definitely think it's important for people of color to also see doctors of color, right? Because genetics, we're dealing with stuff that other genetics aren't dealing with, right? So, and when you have this fleet of, like C always says, our white counterparts,
White counterparts.
our white counterparts, right? But those doctors, are they really taking the time to do their due diligence to see what is specific to us?
That's right.
Because if they're not, they're just looking at something on the whole, and if they're not specializing in us, that's the difference. So when you go into that, get that second opinion, go to that doctor that looks like us. You'll notice a difference in the care that's provided to you.
That's right. That's right. Ironically, you saying that, we have a young lady that's about to come on, and we've been talking about certain things that women have challenges with and face, right? And this young lady wrote a dynamic book about certain things like that. So I think that's an excellent transition. But the one thing that I will say, you got a question? You tried to go ahead.
Oh, no, I didn't have a question.
Oh, okay.
I guess it was more so of a comment. I couldn't help but think about how, the historical misconception that Black women are stronger and we can tolerate more pain and all that. And, just when it comes to the thoughts and ideologies of our white counterparts about Black women's health, it's just... Yeah, it's detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's detrimental. And it just feeds the fake stereotypes of the fake ideals that women are even stronger, so they don't hurt like everyone hurt. Their pain tolerance is a little bit more, and it just feeds that stereotype, to feed the BS. And we're here to kill the BS. This ain't about BS. And this young lady that's about to come on ain't for the BS. And so I'm excited about that. So, a great transition to Sizzle. Who do we have today? Holla at me.
So we have the amazing Miss Tanira Willis. She is a certified pediatric registered nurse and certified CPR instructor. She is also the owner of Amazing Family Enterprises, LLC. During her journey to motherhood, she was embarrassed, ashamed, and riddled with guilt. For years, she had it in her heart to share her journey in hopes that it would help others. And after some time, she decided her story alone was not enough, and she reached out to other women who were unwilling members of this unwanted club and asked them to contribute. Memoirs of Almost Barren Women was compiled to bring more conversation, understanding, and support to infertility. It has a goal to reduce shame and guilt and encourage options for those wishing to grow a family. So please give a warm welcome to Miss Tanera Willis.
Yes. Welcome.
Hi, good evening, We Talk Weekly family.
Yes, I like that family. Yes. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome.
Thanks for being here. I want to jump right in. I feel like I have so many questions. But first, can you talk to us about your journey into the healthcare industry? Like, what made you want to even be an RN? We have your book, so we know a little bit about your story. So was it your story that made you want to work in healthcare, or was it working in healthcare what made you want to tell your story? How did this come about?
I think it was the second one. I think definitely working in healthcare made me more comfortable telling my story.
Okay.
Like you said in the introduction, I had a lot of shame, guilt, and embarrassment, but I had the educational background and the resources to learn on my own. And once I found out how common infertility was, it helped reduce my shame, my embarrassment once. So that was 12 years ago or over 12 years ago. And that time, infertility was 1 in 10. And today, infertility rates are at 1 in 5. But once I found out that, I'm like, well, why am I ashamed if it's so common? If it's happening to so many people, and why aren't we talking about it? So I started to talk about it more. So I wanted to be a nurse because I've always wanted to do something to help people. And when I was a little kid, having goals and dreams, every job I ever thought of would be one that helped someone. So I've always had a nurturing spirit, empathetic spirit.
Also that motherly spirit.
Yeah, exactly. It goes hand in hand, right?
Right. So what I love about your book is the title, The Almost Barren Women.
Yes.
And because almost, it lets you know right off the bat that it didn't end that way. So tell me why you gave it that title.
Yeah, and I want to elaborate on. I'm glad you asked. I've actually never had anyone ask me that question before, believe it or not. So to me, almost barren. To me, barren is more than motherhood. Mm-hmm. To me, it means to have lack, to be without, to be missing something.
Yes.
So my book is not even, everybody in the book wasn't successful in having children. That's why I wanted to share a complex variety of stories, because everyone's story doesn't end with a child. I luckily do have one healthy child from my IVF, but some women don't have that story. But for me, it was important to let you know that you may not have had that child, but you're still not barren, because I truly believe God gives us all gifts and purposes. Absolutely. And most women, not all, desire to have a family. But for some of us who don't get to have that in the way that we expect it, we still have a purpose, we still have goals, and we still have value. So we can still apply that nurturing, that love, like I said before, in other ways. So I wanted to just encourage people not to lose that opportunity. And I feel like a lot of people, because of their grief and shame and disparities from infertility, they keep it to themselves because they're in so much grief. So that was kind of one of the catalysts for me writing the book, to kind of help people break away from that grief and get back to their joy and begin to nurture their lives, if not anything else, back to having a place of peace and happiness and purpose.
Yeah, that's so important. The grief, oh man, you have the stuff that folks are going to deal with, right? It's the grief, the guilt, the shame, embarrassment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many different emotions and things that they have to go through. So aside from your book, what else are you doing to, I guess, like bring awareness? Is it anything that we don't know about maybe in the healthcare industry? Do you guys have any like programs or anything that would maybe help folks through these situations?
Well, and there are a lot of things out there. I do believe, like I said, 12 or 13 years ago, I didn't think that there were. I'm not sure if there were. Things have just changed, but I think you don't know where to look. You don't know where to start. You're suffering in silence, so you don't ask a lot of questions. So you don't get to get the access to all of the resources. But there's lots of support groups, even social media. I think that's one of the places I went first, because I was quiet and no one knew. I found so many pages and people who would share their stories, share their resources, and even Regina M. Townsend, the one who wrote the foreword for my book, she's one of the first people I found on social media. She's a Black woman who founded a nonprofit that supports Black and brown women suffering from infertility. And I connected to her page and her foundation. So now today, the past 2 years, I host the annual health fair. And that's one thing as a nurse. I never saw fertility resources at health fair. I never saw reproductive health resources at health fairs. I never saw behavioral health resources at health fair. I never saw grief support. So I make sure at my health fair, those things are there. I've had agencies like Resolve. I've had our local infertility providers come and share, and I have a lot of grief and mental health support. So those are some of the resources that you do. And then at my health fair, I always do a fundraiser or a raffle, and all of the funds go to the last 2 years has gone to Regina's Broken Brown Aid, which is the foundation I was talking about.
Okay. That's amazing. And as you were talking, I was thinking back because I worked at a hospital for 10 years. And I would help facilitate the fairs all the time and the blood drives and everything else, right? And I don't remember there being any fertility resources there.
They're like hidden in corners. Like,
but you know what? I feel like by not, because like they say, everything trickles down from the top. Everything starts at home. How can you be a healthcare provider who wants to help people but not want to help people in all aspects of life, right? So for infertility, fertility, this is something that everybody deals with, and it's not even gender, right? Men and women. So why not have it more in the forefront? Why not have these resources at fairs? Because the more you put it in the front, the more you talk about it, the more it'll make people more comfortable to begin to have these conversations. So I really appreciate, you writing this book. Like you said, this is your first step of getting it out there. But tell me, what made you be compelled and comfortable to want to tell your story?
I think it was I wasn't comfortable at the beginning. I tell other people, sometimes I choke up when I say I used to lie in the beginning when people would say, why aren't you having a baby? Or when do you want to have, because people, as soon as you get married or you're in a long-term relationship, that's one of the first questions they ask.
You're not the only, but you know what? You're not the only one.
You get tired.
So many people do it. I have, I know people who are fighting with these issues, but in a public setting, when someone goes, "Oh, when you gonna have," they'll blurt out something that has nothing to do with the real answer, but it's because you're just saving face in that moment, or you feel like this isn't somebody that's close enough that I need to tell them my business. So, what made you comfortable to be like, you know what? Not only am I going to tell you, I'm going to tell the world my story.
Yeah, I know. I'm at this place where there's literally no shame, no guilt around anything. I tell everybody everything.
Okay, so you got to help everybody else get there. But that's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah. I think it's finding the information and the knowledge. I really, I started to read books. Like I said, I went on social media and sought to see what comment. I'm a nurse, so research. My husband, my dad always teases me. You always ask me, what's the evidence-based research? So
exactly. We need facts.
It has to be facts. Yeah, it can't be just Google schmoogle. And if you're looking at social media, you have to always fact check, right? So I think the more I learned, it made me drop my walls down. And then I would be in so many circles and rooms, like you said, where people were dealing with it, but they wouldn't say anything. And then I would say after 3 or 4 years, I started to say something. And almost every single time there would be a Me Too. We had our own Me Too movement. Someone would say Me Too, or my daughter too, or something. But to me, I feel like the difference with me is I was determined not to be in grief and sadness. And it was people I was learning, they were losing all of their finances. They were losing their relationships, both intimate and friendships, because they had so much anger and grief and resentment and shame and jealousy, all of those things. So I'm like, this is not what God wants for us. Like, what is this? Like, it is definitely a big weight. Speaking of research, I read a research article maybe about 3 or 4 years ago where they compared infertility to cancer diagnosis. So it's really that much of a weight. That's how many, people feel as though they have a death sentence when they have infertility. So I think that's what helped me drop my guard down, just knowing how prevalent it was and that I wasn't alone. And then just seeing other people just losing so much from it, and it just didn't sit well with me.
Okay. Now, I know you can't speak from a male perspective. And sometimes when I think of the male perspective, I think it's just, the ego and the manhood. And they don't want to feel like they less of a man for, they homies to know that they can't produce, right? But from a woman's perspective, where does your shame come from? Or where does your, whatever that thing you were feeling, actually tell us what you were feeling that didn't make you want to share, what were those internal emotions that you were dealing with?
A few things. So definitely because as I was younger, culturally getting an abortion wasn't a big thing. You have unprotected sex. You don't want a baby by JoJo. You
we already got no jobs.
What's wrong with JoJo?
Yeah, it's not funny, but it's funny, right?
Hold on, what's wrong with JoJo? What's wrong?
But JoJo just said everything about him.
Hold on.
Like he
What's
doesn't
wrong
have a
with
job,
JoJo?
JoJo can lay it down, but JoJo is not going to handle it.
JoJo ain't gonna handle. JoJo was fun. JoJo ain't responsible. He just
right.
fun.
That's the maintenance.
Look, JoJo's starting to feel marginalized here. What's wrong with JoJo?
Back or two, but he's not.
JoJo need a better job. JoJo still live with his mama. It's a whole lot of reasons.
Yes. Like that. JoJo just said everything.
What was the question?
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry.
That's because y'all talking about JoJo. Leave JoJo out the conversation. JoJo ain't do nothing to y'all.
Listen,
Doesn't matter.
her saying JoJo set the
my
tone.
God.
Everybody
Yes.
know.
Right, JoJo matters.
Everybody knows.
JoJo matters.
I got JoJo.
Yes,
Don't miss the JoJos of the
that's
world.
one for the books right there.
But you were saying, in our culture, in our neighborhoods, when you living down the block from
Where did the shame come
JoJo, it wasn't taboo to, okay, I'm not going to keep this baby, so
Yeah.
that's
So
where you
I
were.
had an abortion at age 17. I had an abortion at age 21. So part of that shame was I caused this. This was my fault. Part of it was culturally. Black people don't talk about infertility. Hispanic people don't talk about infertility. Asian people don't talk about infertility. So it came from that. Part of it, I think, was I had a big case of the why me's. I knew, like I said, in my culture, unfortunately, we got abortion a lot. I have cousins who had 6. I have friends who had, and then they still popping them out. So it's like, why me? So it was just, it was multifactorial for me. And then I blamed myself versus my husband because once he got checked out, he was all good. So now I'm like, I'm wasting my time with JoJo, but now I have this amazing man.
See?
JoJo got the best of me.
See? You keep bringing up JoJo.
But that's a relevant point that women need to know. When we don't value our bodies and we don't make good decisions, that was one of people ask me, do I regret abortions? I don't, to be honest. I regret the decisions way ahead of that. I regret the unprotected sex. I regretted, not sleeping with people that I knew I didn't want to be with long term.
Right.
So I regretted that. So I wish I had better judgment and better, discernment there. The abortion was life-saving for me. I knew I didn't want to be a baby mom. I knew I didn't want to be with JoJo. I knew I didn't want to be on a bus with a baby. I didn't want to be check to check. So it was all of that. Like if I knew that, then why did I do this?
Right.
So
if I knew that, why was I with JoJo?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
Casey and JoJo. That's a good one. As y'all know,
my nerves.
you got
JoJo. Leave JoJo out. JoJo ain't did nothing. What did
But he did though. That's a good one.
JoJo. Leave JoJo. Look at JoJo. He ain't did nothing.
They got them skeletons.
Yeah. There you go. So when you got to a point where you now, like you said, now you got this good man and this is what you want, and now it's not happening. So, but why were you? What was making you afraid to admit that it wasn't happening or actually say it? Where did that come from?
And I guess I need a little bit more clarity. So, do you mean like to who? Because my husband knew. We actually didn't wait. A lot of studies show that Black people wait longer to seek care. maybe
Okay.
after a year or two, we went and to the doctors.
Okay.
But I just didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my friends.
Well, so okay, so I guess that's the question. So
Okay.
did you? Because that's where we don't really find folks will open up and have the
Mhm.
real conversation. So now that you have your husband, you're with this great man, and y'all you find out, and so you jump on it quickly and you start seeking additional help and resources, right?
Mhm.
But were you still, when people would ask, were you still telling that lie, or were you just
I
already
was.
opened up about it?
I
You
was, and
you was.
I had 3 people that I talk to, my best friend, my first cousin who I call my sister, and my mother. But I always tell people I never told anyone the whole truth. I told everybody a piece of what I was comfortable with in the moment. And it was just judgment and shame and embarrassment. It was like a plethora of emotions, which made it very hard to be vocal about it. And I feel like that's where people get consumed with their emotions when they're going through it.
Yeah. Was it that it was just hard to talk about? Because sometimes, we're emotional. And so when it starts to talk about sometimes certain things will just bring us to tears when we're trying to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So was it that, or it was just that you were embarrassed, that you just didn't want them to know? Like, what were
I
you
feel like
ashamed
nobody
of?
truly understood
Okay.
because no one talked about it. I didn't have anybody that I knew in my close-knit family that went through it. Now I have, like, when I think back, I'm like, oh, cousin such and such probably did, because she ain't never had no kids, but she never talked
Never
about
said
it.
anything. Never said
And then the
anything. Wow.
neighbor, the aunt had a kid, but the mom took it. But I mean, but the sister took it, so that's probably was, and no one ever talked about it. So I felt like no one understood. So why would I be vulnerable when you don't really get it?
Right, right. So I want to share a little bit of my story now, and I want to ask you a question. I remember, long working, just, chasing the dream, right?
Mhm.
So not being in a relationship for a long time, and then you go to the doctors and your checkups and your annuals, and I had a doctor tell me, he's like, listen, if you want to be a mom, you need to do it now or it may not happen. I was like, what? And so I was almost like pushed by a doctor to like go do egg freezing or something, right? Because I'm being told that if you don't do this by this age, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then I remember saying, okay, I hit this panic button, and then I get there and they're asking me for like my partner or my donor. I'm like, well, I'm single. That's the whole reason I want to do this. And they were like, oh, well, after you can only freeze your eggs if they're fertilized. I said, so I can only freeze if I said, so I have to pick. That means I have to pick somebody now. The whole point is I want to do this because I don't have anybody now. So I was so confused by that. And so when I hear you say, folks talking about, like when you were talking about like people getting pregnant younger and then still popping them out later, I learned through that process when I was having those conversations with those doctors that as women, before we are born, it is always determined how many eggs or whatever we have, right, that are viable. So they don't tell you that when you're young, right? So when you're young and you're having 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 abortions because now you decide you want to stop hanging out with JoJo and now you want a real situation. You got your husband now. It's like, oh, well, they didn't tell you that for your body, for your situation, you only got 14. You wasted those 14. Now you don't have any more. So that's where I'm like from a standpoint of science and healthcare, can you speak to that a little bit? And what do you think about, like, should we know earlier? Because I was in my like, I'm like 30s, mid 30s, and I'm just hearing this for the first time in my life and never knew that was a thing. So that's where the lack of education comes in with our like our anatomy or these health classes or just education for women's health. Because why did I just find that out when I'm like 35, 36?
Right.
Why didn't I know that sooner?
Right. And let me just give a disclaimer. I don't have an extensive background in reproductive health or infertility health.
Okay.
I am a registered nurse, but most of my experience has been in pediatrics. But I can share a little bit of what I know or what I've learned or what I even heard other people experience. Because I recently had a friend this year going through severe endometriosis. She's single. She's in her mid 40s. She's not married. And they told her the same thing. You got 6 months to have a kid. So to her, that's devastating. Like 6 months to have a kid, I don't even have a man. Like
That's what I said. I was like, I ain't even got no boyfriend.
yeah, and so I just really feel like that's tough to say to women. It's just tough. I feel like it's a different way. Like you don't want them to ignore the urgency, but it just needs to be different. And you can freeze eggs. I don't know if that's changed over the years without them being fertilized. You know, that has advanced. But I do think, like
they said you could up until a certain age, but then after that age, they would have to be fertilized.
So that may be where my knowledge deficit is. But I think we don't educate ourselves enough. They're still teaching about, like you said, sex ed the same way they taught us, or the same way they taught our mothers. They're still saying, and I'm a Christian woman, and I always tell people, telling kids don't have sex doesn't work. Telling people even don't have sex because God this and God that. That's going to work for a very small segment of the population. So they need to know about value and self-worth, and like you said, reproductive health. And if I get these STDs, it's going to lead to this. If I get these procedures, it can lead to this, and fibroids and cysts. And there's so many different things that I think we need to expand those topics and conversations. And I even say for my book, like, it's not just for adults. It's let your teen girls read this so they can know, oh, she had abortions at 17 and 21, and now she had her fallopian tubes are scarred, and that's the passageway to get the sperm into the, you know, they need to know that. Like, so now I might make a better decision, or I might be a little bit more discretionary, or I might, you know, not be in such a rush. It's not just because mom said it or not because the pastor said it. It needs to be a little bit, it needs to touch them in a way that's meaningful. And like I said, there is a small segment of people that works, but that didn't work for me. I've always been in the church, and I still was getting it popping. Like,
messing with JoJo. You know,
JoJo
so
was lit. He had the low rider with
you
the
know.
light. Nina Howard bumping through the city, like, you know, that's glamorous. Like, the kids in the inner city and things like that, the people with the cars and the money, you know. So you have to kind of make it make sense to them and be honest with them and tell our truths with them so they can be a little bit more discretionary. You know, there's still going to be some part where they're going to have to learn on their own, but you do have to start having, if they wanted to go to the OBGYN at 14 and 16 before you put me on birth control pills. That's another thing. Some of that stuff comes from birth control.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
I had never heard anyone tell me, and I've been on birth control maybe, you know, off and on from between 16 and 25, that birth control pills cause infertility. Depo-Provera can cause infertility. I never knew that till I was smart enough to read the packet. But how many of us read those packets that come with the prescription?
That fine print, Look, you talking to somebody who don't even read the look. I just
read
click.
the instructions.
They read the instruction. What's that?
The doctor said.
Especially when I heard what was in those COVID shots, and I was just like, "Whoa, I ain't gonna get into that." But you know, and time flew that quick. Like,
I have a question.
Yeah.
If she could talk a little bit about the Amazing Corner, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, so the Amazing Corner kind of happened organically for me. My son and I wrote a book. Initially, just me trying to show him that he's amazing and he can do hard things, and it doesn't matter his color, his sex, his race, his age, his socioeconomic background. He doesn't have to be like anyone else. That was the goal for me when he created his story. So that's when we did the book first, and then it was like, oh, we can't let Amazon get all our money. We need to create a LLC. And sell this ourselves. So that's honestly how it started. And then after a while, it was like, okay, I want to tell people our story to encourage other people. And that's kind of where the Amazing Corner came about. I wanted it to be a place of inspiration and motivation by using our transparency and making connections, collaborations, and building community to help other people grow. So in summary, it's all about partnering and growth with people. Anybody that wants to grow professionally or personally, that's what the Amazing Corner is about.
I wanted to get into your book, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna throw this so people can see the cover. One thing that stood out for me was the cover, right? What can we talk a little bit about that cover art?
So you want me to talk about that now?
Yeah, please. Okay. Can we talk a little bit about the cover art?
The cover to me, it exemplified how I felt in the moment. I was quiet. I was sad. I cried alone. And even though, like I said, I had this amazing husband, and he was there to the point where he could be. I minimized my conversations with him because he had that male bravado. My husband again he's also a Christian man, so he was like, if God don't want us to have a baby, God don't want us to have a baby, and I'm like, well, that ain't how I feel. But it made me shut down a little bit, like, oh, you good, but I'm not good. So it made me not we literally just talked about this the other day because he's like, I thought I was there. I did the shots. I went to the appointments. I was giving up the money. And then I was like, yeah, but you couldn't be there because I wouldn't tell you. So that's honestly how the book started. I started to journal. So the cover to me, I feel like you could see in her eyes.
It floored me. It's hypnotizing. And kudos to whoever that character was, that model was. Because, I mean, it looks, it's just, it's wild.
And I purposely put the writing in gold to kind of show that there is light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of times we're in dark spaces, but then there's light. So I purposely was like, I wanted that gold text there on purpose.
For sure.
Well, the book is amazing, and I don't want to talk too much about what's inside because I want folks to be able to experience this themselves. But there were five you call them friends in here that shared their stories that you actually thank. And so in addition to those five stories, people who shared their stories, you also included resources, which I really, really loved. So this book is not just about stories that you can relate to that may even be your story that will help you see that you're not, there's a section in here that's like, you are not alone, right? And you list names of, celebrity names that people we all know that have had that have gone through infertility issues, and not just men, also women. And when I say there are pages of resources, I mean websites and just information that you give that will help people along their journey. Financial resources as well, which is a big thing because when you're dealing with infertility and you talk about IVF, we hear that thrown around a lot, but then that's something that's really expensive. So then, it's like, oh, how do we do this? So financial resources, this book has everything in it that will get you through that first step of letting you know you are not alone.
Yeah. So how
great piece of work.
So how can they get in contact with the book and how to locate the book, how to get the book and all that good old stuff?
So the book is on my website, theamazingcorner.com, but it's also available everywhere at any retailer that sells books. Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, Walmart, Books A Million, Buy Baby Books. So any of your favorite online retailers that sell books, you can find Memoirs of Almost Barren Women.
Fantastic. And how can they find you and all that good old stuff?
Yeah, again, all of my social media handles is The Amazing Corner. My website is theamazingcorner.com. All right, no doubt.
Shout out to JoJo. Shout out to JoJo. But real quick, I wanted to just ask you, before we let you leave, if it was a young lady or someone who's experiencing some of the things that you mentioned in the book, who may be watching you right now, what would you say to those young ladies or someone who's watching that book that's going through a lot of these challenges? What would you tell them today?
I would say don't be afraid to speak up and advocate for yourself. Get a second and third opinion, no matter what the result is. If you're not one that is comfortable talking to doctors, take someone with you to your appointments, write your questions down, record your, sometimes they give you so much information and it's sometimes either over your head or overwhelming. Record it so you can go back and take it in and do your research and educate yourself. You don't have to have a nursing background, a doctoral degree to read or to listen to audio tapes or go to the library. You can go to a random library and tell them, this is what I'm looking for, and the librarian will help you find information and use that as a starting point to go ask more questions and to advocate for yourself. And again, you don't have to go with one doctor, go to 2-3 doctors till you find out that you're with someone who cares about you and is going to give you the best care for what you need. You don't want to go to a doctor that does things one size fit all. Make sure it is specific to where you are and what's going on with you and your body.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So a round of applause to you.
Thank
One
you.
one thing we say on the show is once you come to the show, you're always welcome. You're a friend to the show, so you're always welcome to come back. So we invite you to come back, especially as it relates to talking about different issues like this. Again, we're a solutions-based type of program, right? And that's the content that we create to make sure that we try to come up with solutions, right? And you gave a lot of them, and I think even your book contributes to the solutions, right? So kudos to you. Kudos
Thank
to
you so
great
much,
interview.
Karen.
And so I just like to thank you for coming out. But we about to close the show shortly. I don't want you guys to go anywhere. When we come back, we're going right into the sizzle. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this book. Right? One more again, how can they find that book?
Go to theamazingcorner.com, barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com.
No doubt. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate you. So I don't want you guys to go anywhere. When we come back, we got the sizzle. I'm your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful.
Lauren
And
Sizzle.
the beautiful.
Lady Esther.
And the beautiful.
Zanera Willis.
She right there. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Y'all holler.
What's going on, you guys? This is Bridget Kelly, and you are locked into We Talk Weekly.
We Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful.
Lauren
And the
Sizzle.
beautiful.
Lady Esther.
We had a dynamic author. We gotta bring her back. I really liked her.
Absolutely.
She was real.
Yes.
As real as get. You know how we do Real Talk. We Talk Weekly in the building, man.
Real talk, we talk.
Real talk. We talk. We talk.
like
Real
that.
talk. We talk. Real talk. We Talk Weekly. Yeah.
Yeah, that JoJo was one for the book.
Lately, no doubt. And so, no doubt. So you leave JoJo alone, right?
Yes.
And so, you already know what's coming up next. What's going up next?
We got the sizzle.
We got the
Yes,
sizzle.
sir.
Give it to me early.
Yes. So make sure you guys follow We Talk Weekly on all social media and major podcast platforms. And if you want to support our work, you can make a donation on Cash App to $ We Talk Weekly. And just know every donation goes to continue the work that we're doing. All right, so the producers of Where is Wendy Williams documentary are under fire after public outcry from people calling the film exploitative. The film premiered on the heels of the announcement that Wendy was diagnosed with progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia. You know, I'm not good with these medical terms. But the documentary depicts Wendy's journey over the course of a year between August 2022 to April 2023 and what the producers discovered along the way. So there are several executive producers of the documentary, which include her son, Kevin Hunter Jr., and some of her family members. So Wendy Williams' publicist, Sean Zanotti, said that they were told by the production company that the documentary would be about Wendy's comeback story. So when the publicist informed Wendy about the production company wanted to include her in the documentary, Wendy was excited about getting her life and her story back out there. So Wendy's show had ended. She had lost her mother. She divorced her husband, as we all know. And she was already struggling with her health, the Graves' disease and the lymphedema, that she wanted to tell her side of the story. So unfortunately, after the public witnessed the health struggles and battles with alcoholism, they questioned the motives of the producers. So I started, I started watching this. And reportedly, Wendy has not seen the documentary herself. Executive producer Eric Hansen said in an interview, "I think we all ultimately wanted to shed light on this period of time in Wendy's life to help understand what," and he's saying this after he was called out, after they were called out. He said, that they wanted to shed light on this period of time in Wendy's life to help understand what she was going through.
No, we ain't need that. No.
And he said, I could totally understand how hard at times how at times it's hard to watch. It was hard at times to film, but we wanted to be honest and paint a real picture of her isolation and her struggle with addiction. We didn't know that she had dementia. We didn't know that it was confusing at times. Some days Wendy was on and very windy. Other days she wasn't. We all felt this was a complex and sensitive story to tell, and we all felt a great responsibility to do it with dignity and sensitivity. So what are your thoughts about that?
My thoughts are, hold on. I need my gel thing. My thoughts are someone was taken advantage of, and Wendy Williams and her family was taken advantage of. Well, first, it's too early for it. Two, we already know that it's been on the news, TMZ, and everywhere over and over again. We didn't need to see that. And I don't think it did her justice. And it goes back to what both the doctor and the other young lady was talking about in terms of black women being marginalized. And that was another way to do it. Because now you have her looking, excuse the term, looking all crazy. And I seen clips and I was hurt by it. I don't even want to support. I'm not watching it. I'm sorry. I can't watch it.
Yeah.
That's my take.
Yeah. I think it was difficult to watch. And it was just like a lot of people, we know that Wendy's going through something. We don't want to see her going through this because it was like, who made the final decisions to put certain parts of it that could have obviously been kept out?
The entire thing could have been kept out.
Okay. Yes.
So
thank you.
You used the word I'm not Lauren Sizzle, but they used the word dignity. There was no dignity.
No class.
In any of this.
Nothing. Trash.
I can't believe that it was even released. When you realize what was happening, what was going on, you should have put a pin in it, and that was that. You want to keep something on file of archives, but to release it to the public after knowing what was going on, no.
Too early.
No. A comeback story. There's no coming back from this. Yep. There's no comeback here. Yep. You want to put this out here to say, oh, like this never going to be a situation where she gets a cure, overcomes this, and is back on TV doing her show again. There's no comeback story here.
Yeah. Trash.
Yeah, it was devastating. It was painful to watch. It really was.
Is that where because I haven't seen it. I didn't know it was out, but I've been seeing little clips of stuff online. Are these pieces being pulled from that?
Yeah.
Because I was like, where are these interviews coming from? And the one I keep seeing is the one with her and Black China.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get to that part, but yeah.
And she was almost in tears, too.
Yeah, she was.
It's like,
because it was like they were having a normal conversation, and then Wendy just, like, it's almost like, let me say something to you. If you've had family members that have had dementia or Alzheimer's or anything like this.
Yes.
And you can relate to this personally. This is not comfortable to watch. You know exactly what's happening in these moments, and it's painful for people for the loved ones.
Yep.
It's painful when your loved one no longer knows who you are.
Yes.
Trash.
And they were saying, like, why weren't her family members included in this? Like,
because everybody's worried about their bottom line.
Yeah. Trash.
They don't care. Because guess what? You got to think about it as another job. You are disposable on your job at the end of the day. They don't care what you're dealing with, what you're going through. All they know is they need the work done because it's business. So they not here. Let's get somebody else to replace them. They'll go to your funeral. They'll talk to your family. They'll send all kinds of gifts. But we need somebody to fill this spot because we need our money to be right. At the end of the day, it's about that bottom line. So this was a way for them to make money.
Exactly.
And what production company was this? Did it have anything to do with her show or anything else that she was doing? Did they feel like they needed to make this money to offset something they felt like she owed them? What was the reason that you felt like you needed to make money off of this woman in this moment?
It's just sad. whole situation is sad because you're right. You absolutely right. Like, why did they feel like they needed to do this? And this was something that, you know, I really feel like that it just really, like, if anything, it ruined her career. Not her herself, because, you know, she can't help the things that she's going through. But, like, what comeback?
And the thing, and the reason why I stopped giving it any energy or any attention is because some of the comments and some of the stuff that people were saying, and because of Wendy Williams and who she was and the work that she did, and you know, she came into conflict with a lot of people. Yeah. And I seen a comment where somebody said something like this being karma because of all the stuff that she, you know, but she was doing this stuff. Like, come on. I don't care how much you like or dislike somebody. How do you wish it, you know? Well, I can't even say that because everybody's not.
That's true.
Everybody.
Yeah, no, but you're right.
Though. How do you wish anything like that on somebody just because you don't like something they said 10 years ago? I can't.
Yeah. I saw them comments too, but karma is the last thing anybody should be saying.
Yeah, it's no way you can see somebody going through something like that and then you throw another dagger on top.
Right. Yeah. All right. So Meek Mill and DJ Academics, they have been caught up in this Twitter feud immediately following a. Can you give me some music? The Wendy, no, you fine, but the Wendy Williams was just like, it was sad.
Heavy.
It brought me down a little bit. I'm like, oh, we need to pick me up.
I know. Sorry for my rant.
No, you
on
fine.
My soapbox, like C say.
No, that was like, you said everything that needed to be said. So, but Meek Mill and DJ Academics, they've been caught up in this Twitter feud immediately following a lawsuit that was filed against Diddy by producer Rodney Jones, who accused him of inappropriate behavior. I'm not to go into all of that because that's a whole different story. But in the lawsuit, Rodney Jones he includes allegations of Diddy telling him that he slept with 2 other male celebrities whose names were redacted in the lawsuit, but there's like a footnote that mentions one, it hails from Philly and dated Nicki Minaj, and the other performed at the Super Bowl and has a residency in Vegas. So it's like a way to not say their names, but just describe them to a T. I'm like, what? So DJ Academics immediately pointed it out on the show, and he was going through the actual lawsuit papers. But after pointing out the description in the lawsuit, he told Meek, he said, yo Meek, we were playing around with the Michael Rubin-ish. You be tweeting about everything on planet Earth. If you don't get on Twitter rant, get on a Twitter rant saying you're about to get Lil Rod killed, you're about to shoot up his block, blow up his mama's house up. This ninja was saying you and Diddy was fornicating. So he's like saying that, like, if you don't do this, you don't do that, then what, you gotta do something because it's a bad look, I guess. So Meek and DJ Academics, they kind of exchange verbal jabs on Twitter. But then celebrity boxing CEO Damon Feldman, he offered Meek and DJ Academics $1 million to step in the ring at a venue in Atlanta. So DJ Academics posted a video saying that he's ready. Have not heard from Meek on his end, but I don't know. $1 million?
That ain't small money. That definitely ain't small money, but I don't know.
Man.
You gotta need it.
That's true.
And you gotta care.
Yeah.
Do Meek need it and do he care?
Nah, Meek don't need it.
He don't need it and he don't care.
Yeah.
The DJ boy might need it.
Yeah, he said he ready. So he might need it. Well, we'll see.
I don't care.
If
anybody cares, I don't care.
So the Celebrity Sizzle Award of the week goes to Drake. Drake has paid tribute.
Come on, Drake.
Drizzy. He has paid tribute to a mother and her daughter who were both struck by and killed by a car.
See, stop.
After leaving this concert. Drake.
Say it again. Say it again. Sizzle.
Drake.
Drake did what for the weather?
So he had paid a tribute to 42-year-old Leticia Bracero and her 21-year-old daughter, Alyssa Cordova. They were both at his show. And when they left, they were struck and killed by a car. So he was just telling like the concert goers to be grateful for your life and show love to people around them. You never know what their reality is when they leave this building. And then Drake also gifted a cancer survivor $25,000 who was waving a sign in the audience at the concert. But this isn't the first donation that Drake has made in February. He also gifted a cancer survivor $100,000 at his concert in Nashville. So shout out to Drake for giving back to others. And I'm your girl, Lauren Sizzle, and that was the Sizzle.
And that was the Sizzle, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your boy, Charles Gregory, the beautiful.
Lauren Sizzle.
And the beautiful.
Lady S. Dot
This
and
is We
Drake.
Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPPM Philadelphia 106. Hold on. Hold on.
Now
What
you
I
gonna
just
try
say?
to find it? You gonna try
Now
to find it?
Yeah, hold
I'm
on.
gonna try to lock you up.
Where is it?
You was in the middle of saying something.
There we go. There we go. You go directly to Joe. That's my guy, 7 on the beat. Shout out to my guy, 7 on the beat. This track that we play sometimes, he actually did this. He was like, yo, Charles Gregory, you go have that beat. Play it for your show. I said, I got you, my brother. I like the beat anyway. So sometimes as we're talking and you hear this music, this is my guy. I want to give him some credit for that. Stranger Things from Logix, right? 7 on the beat. He developed this beat. And so we do this as we talking sometime. And I think this is perfect time for me to, where's my gel thing again? I'll just put it in, you know. And shout out to Lauren Sizzle for the Drake story. I put this up, yeah, look, you know,
We should get Drake on this beat.
yeah, it was just exhausting. It was just exhausting, you know. But no, shout out to Drake for doing stuff like that to people who are in need, though. I think more celebrities and people who have the resources to give monies like that and take care of issues like that, they should.
Yeah.
You got unlimited money. Like and I don't want to count nobody's pockets because they say you shouldn't do that. And if you got money, you got money, right? And I get that. However, instead of blowing all your money, especially if you're in a BIPOC community, you blowing your money on stuff to kill your community, why don't you kind of do some stuff to amplify and uplift the community? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like from the perks, the mollies, all that. Like do you, the drink and do you. I mean, you got enough money that you can, you know. Here you go. You a little late on your water bill. You a late, and some of them do. Shout out to Meek. Meek have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Hart has done it. Will Smith has, you know, a history of doing good deeds. But if you from, and I only use them because they in Philly, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you are part of, right now I'm only talking to Philly. If you are a celebrity coming out of Philly, Jasmine Sullivan, Jill Scott, you know, all you guys, like, you know, like give back. Come be a little visible. That's what I mean. Give back. Let people know. And I'm under the impression that it's okay to be seen. You show everything else.
Yeah.
You show everything else. You show your business, the bad stuff you're doing. You show yourself drinking, popping Molly, all that. Show the stuff that you're doing good. And it's okay. You know, some people say, oh, you don't really care if you doing. Well, you can't speak for everyone, right? And so you don't know the true intentions of people. People make intentions to do certain things, and the fact that so what you being seen. But the fact that you really doing this to help somebody, that's all that matters, because they're the one that's going to benefit at the end of the day. And so I'm always say things to continue to amplify and support the community. I'm going to continue to do things to amplify and support the community, because I love my people. I love my people. I'm unapologetically black. Even my white friends, they know. But they love me for who I am. And that's what you got to do. Love for what you are. Don't try to change for you. Don't need to change for no one. Right? You need to change for your significant other. Be you. Be 100% you. Cat Williams said, you your own star player. So play and play hard. All right? And so that's all I got, man. I don't want to get on my soapbox too much, but I appreciate everybody who came on the show today. I appreciate everyone who's been, supporting us on the show. And real quick, if you watching, come on, we can use your support. Why don't you donate real quick? $ We Talk Weekly on a Cash App. Anything will work, right? We rely on you to continue doing the work that we do unapologetically, right? We love to help our people. We love to help the folk. We love to, shed light on it. Even, my white counterparts, a lot of they come on, they tell yo, I'm an ally. I'm holding y'all down, and we love you for it. But be unapologetic for it. Be unapologetic for everything you do to uplift and amplify the entire community, especially those marginalized communities, right? We don't have to say all of them, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So support. We need your support. We really appreciate you. And that's about all I got. Since we got any last words, we got about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this was a great kickoff into Women's History Month.
Oh, yeah, forever.
Shout out to many of the women that have paved the way for us to be able to be, just to exist and do what we're doing now. So shout out to our guests that came on today. And that's doing the amazing work in marginalized minority communities.
For sure.
So yeah.
What about you, lady? I start hollering real quick.
I just want to, piggyback on what you said, but I also want to put out there, let's not put all the pressure on, our black celebrities to big up Philly. It's some big celebrities that's from Philly of our white counterparts, and they don't mention it, and they're not doing a lot here too. So you know what I mean? The Richard Gere's, Kevin Bacon's, y'all from Philly too. Like,
that's true.
Y'all can help out too.
Yep. Believe it or not, Tory Burch is in the area. Mm-hmm. I ain't heard, but I'll just say, like, we got our own folks. We take care of our own. I'll put that caveat on it. We take care of our own, because if we don't take care of our own, we can't count on nobody else to do that, right? And so, as long as I'm here, I'm gonna take care of my own as much as I can. I'm gonna keep talking. That's why we have people on our show. Mm-hmm. Everybody from our show is from the community, and anybody who call, all right, come on, pull up. Because it's important, because if we don't do it, they can't get on Fox, they can't get on PHL, they can't get it. We got you, and we get numbers, right? And so We Talk Weekly, we love you, man. We're going to continue to do what we do, especially when it comes to the time to vote, because it's about that time. And I don't want to hear people coming on shows, this is the most important election. No, we don't want to hear that. We want to know, why, especially black folk, we want to know why we should be voting. A lot of people feeling that way now. Let's get down to it. What are you going to do to support the BIPOC community? And that's that. It's we out here. I'm Charles Gregg with the beautiful
Lawrence
and the beautiful
Lady Esther.
This is We Talk Weekly's After Talk at WPPMRP Philadelphia 106.5. That's what We Talk Weekly's After Talk here in Philadelphia. And we're going to continue doing what we do. We really appreciate you. Thanks for watching. And we out here like last year. Y'all holla.
Peace.